Welcome back to The Explainer. We are jumping straight into episode 26, week 22, with our AI weekly recap. We've got a massive week to cover, everything from a historic DeepMind math breakthrough to some genuinely urgent AI safety alerts. We're taking this week's 13 biggest updates and distilling them down into one chronological journey. We're going to look at the raw data for sure, but more importantly, we're unpacking the real-world implications so you can get a solid grip on exactly what is happening in the AI landscape right now.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We've broken down this week's timeline into 4 key themes. 1. Breakthroughs, ethics, and safety. 2. The real cost of AI. 3. Science, tools, and job security. And finally, 4. Next-gen agents and Siri.
All right, Section 1. Breakthroughs, ethics, and safety. Let's look at the raw power of AI right now and the immediate guardrails trying to contain it. 56 years. Let that sink in for a second. That is exactly how long 2 open Erdős mathematical problems sat completely, stubbornly unsolved. Well, until Google DeepMind's AlphaProof Nexus got its hands on them and cracked them. And the really crazy part about this timeline, this happened just a single day after OpenAI claimed its very own breakthrough in disproving an 80-year-old Erdős conjecture. We are literally watching the frontier of human mathematical discovery being rewritten in real time.
So how do they actually pull this off? It is a brilliant illustration of modern AI mechanics. DeepMind essentially took a large language model and paired it up with a super strict mathematical programming language called Lean. The LLM throws out potential proofs, Lean strictly verifies them, and they just loop that process until one passes. Using this exact method, the system solved 9 open Erdős problems across combinatorics and graph theory, and it did the whole thing for just a few $100. I mean, it's a total game changer. AI is now generating and verifying novel math at machine speed.
But here's the thing. When you take that exact same computational muscle and apply it to the real world, it desperately needs checking. Take Anthropic's Project Glasswing. They unleashed their Claude Mythos model, and it uncovered over 10,000 critical vulnerabilities across their major partners in just 1 month. Cloudflare alone found over 2,000 bugs, and get this, with a false positive rate better than human testers. Mozilla patched up 271 vulnerabilities for Firefox, and an unnamed partner bank actually used Mythos to spot and block a $1.5 million fraudulent wire transfer. Anthropic is keeping this model strictly gated for now because the misuse risk is off the charts, which perfectly highlights the dual-use nature of these tools.
And look, the sheer moral weight of all this power, it is definitely not going unnoticed on the global stage. Pope Leo XIV just issued a 42,000-word encyclical to the church's 1.4 billion members directly addressing this. He's warning against monopolistic AI control, pointing out that a handful of private companies now have capabilities surpassing many actual governments. He's explicitly stated that algorithms can never make war morally acceptable, and he's calling for robust, independent legal frameworks to make sure AI isn't just controlled by a select few.
And you know what? That warning about independent oversight is playing out as a technical crisis right this second. The Financial Times just proved they could strip the safety guardrails entirely off an open-source meta model, Llama 3.3, in exactly 10 minutes. 10 minutes! They used a tool called Heretic. It's literally 4 lines of code and doesn't even need specialized hardware. Once they decensored it, the model started spitting out highly dangerous answers, like exact dosages for bioweapons. Google's Gemma 3 was vulnerable to it too. As these open models get just as smart as the closed ones, this kind of rapid decensoring is a massive, massive security red flag.
Moving right along to Section 2, the real cost of AI. Let's look at the reality check happening between corporate spending and the true value for us humans.
We are seeing a real tug-of-war in how tech leaders are viewing AI's value right now. On one side, you've got Uber COO Andrew McDonald, who is really struggling to justify their massive corporate AI spend. He says all this heavy AI token usage, what they're calling token maxing, just isn't translating into proportional gains for everyday consumers. So they're scrutinizing costs, especially since they've had to slow down regular hiring to fund the AI push. But on the flip side, amid all these industry job cuts, NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang is taking a totally different angle. He's actually urging people not to desperately chase AI-proof degrees. Instead, he's talking about wabi-sabi, the Japanese concept of finding beauty in imperfection. He wants us to lean into our uniquely human craft and use AI to elevate it rather than trying to compete with a machine on its own terms.
But you know, our human imperfections really pale in comparison to hard-coded systemic flaws. A massive new Stanford study just analyzed 4 million job applications, and the results are pretty sobering. They found that AI hiring tools are showing clear, measurable racial bias, actively screening out specific demographics. The data showed a 10.62% adverse impact rate against Black applicants and a 5.32% adverse impact rate against Asian applicants.
And here is the truly scary part about those numbers. It's how this bias scales. Because these AI hiring tools aren't built from scratch every time. They run on shared infrastructure. Researchers found that 42 of these hiring models were being shared across 156 different employers. That means a single, hidden algorithmic bias doesn't just mean you get rejected from one job. It can unjustly lock an applicant out of dozens of companies across an entire industry, and nobody would even realize the shared root cause.
All right, Section 3, Science, Tools, and Job Security. Let's scale back up and see how AI is impacting everything from global enterprise down to human health.
Right on the heels of that whole reality check about AI reliability, Anthropic just dropped Claude Opus 4.8. And this isn't just a standard benchmark bump, it's a massive, fast course correction. They are moving away from flashy, viral demos and focusing strictly on reliability and enterprise trust. They've baked in high honesty guardrails so it won't let flawed code pass, and they've introduced dynamic workflows that let Claude coordinate hundreds of parallel subagents for massive tasks. It's a serious infrastructure play, even though, to be fair, it still trails OpenAI's GPT when it comes to agentic terminal coding, AI that can independently write and run code right on your machine.
Meanwhile, over in the biotech world, 6.8 billion. That is a truly staggering number of protein sequences that Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan's BioHub just mapped using their brand new model ESM Fold 2. It's built on a massive protein language model, claims state-of-the-art performance beating out AlphaFold, and it's completely open source. What's so exciting here is the real lab results. It's already designing binders against cancer and immune targets with success hit rates between 36 and 88%. They are essentially handing the foundational infrastructure of drug discovery directly to open-source researchers worldwide.
And the folks building these models know exactly what kind of societal earthquake is coming. The OpenAI Foundation, which is their nonprofit arm, just committed $250 million specifically to address this AI disruption. They're going to use the money to track where economic value is actually flowing, directly fund worker retraining and job transitions, and even explore massive structural shifts like moving taxes away from human labor and onto capital. With tech layoffs already spreading, this is a clear acknowledgement from the creators themselves that we urgently need new economic safety nets.
Finally, let's hit Section 4, Next-Gen Agents and Siri. We're closing out the week by looking at the consumer tools that are heading straight for your devices.
First up on the consumer horizon is Trajectory. This is a brand new startup founded by ex-DeepMind and Apple researchers, and they just launched with $15 million in funding. They are tackling the annoying problem of frozen AI models by building an AI that continuously learns on the job. The workflow is brilliant. It captures your specific user corrections while you work, uses those edits to automatically post-train itself, and instantly gets better at that narrow task. They're aiming for hourly updates. Imagine the tools you use compounding in quality almost in real time just from your everyday feedback.
And speaking of massive consumer reach, Apple is finally pushing a major AI overhaul into over 1 billion pockets. The totally revamped Siri is reportedly being rebuilt on top of Google Gemini. It's going to live right inside the dynamic island. You just swipe down to run AI web searches that pop up as these rich, detailed cards. Swipe down a bit further and you get a dedicated ChatGPT-style app. Plus, all this intelligence is getting baked directly into the camera app for advanced editing. Apple might have been slow out the gate, but this is going to weave AI directly into the daily habits of a massive chunk of the planet.
But let's look at the actual boots-on-the-ground impact with our last update from Cursor's Developer Habits Report, because the results are heavily skewed. Yes, AI has more than doubled average output, with developers writing way more code using AI agents. But the top 1% of developers, they are acting as absolute power users, producing a jaw-dropping 46 times more code than the median user. Factor in that there's a 9x cost variation per request depending on which AI model you choose, and we are looking at a workforce where the gap in productivity and cost efficiency is just blowing wide open every single month. So, when we step back and look at the complete picture of Week 22, the reality is pretty undeniable. AI is literally learning on the job. It is modeling pathways to cure diseases, and it's rewriting the underlying economy at absolute machine speed. From those historic math breakthroughs to the very real safety and bias warnings, everything is just accelerating. So, the final question we have to ask ourselves, and the thought I want to leave you with today, is this. With all of this incredible, world-altering infrastructure being built so fast, are we actually adapting fast enough to keep up? Thank you so much for watching this explainer, and keep learning.